Happy Monday, everyone. Alvin Morton here again, Interim Superintendent of Schools, back with another episode of Mondays with Morton podcast, where we actually highlight the positive things that are going on in the Chicopee Public Schools and the city of Chicopee, and showing people how we Chicopee. And today we have none other than the Athletic Director of Chicopee Public Schools, Mr. Sean Mackin. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Morton.
Just wanted to talk about the state of athletics in Chicopee Public Schools and also our second year of our student athlete summer camp that's in connection with our summer school program. So Mr. Mackin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Sean Mackin. This is my 6th year as Director of Athletics for Chicopee Public Schools. I absolutely love my job. It is extremely challenging being in charge of both schools, and I'm very fortunate that I work with tremendous people, including our leadership and you, as well as all of our coaches. I get great access to our student athletes, get to see them perform at really high levels, and look at our successes and our failures, and my job is to do the best job that I can to provide these student athletes with what they need, from coaches to facilities to equipment to uniforms, and then also represent Chicopee. I'm currently on the sports medicine committee, on the soccer committee, the unified sports committee, as well as other sportsmanship committees. So I represent Chicopee at the state level as well. Regarding our Chicopee Student Athlete Summer Camp, that starts July 5th, runs through August 4th.
You don't have to go into full detail yet. I'll circle back to that topic.
You sure? So you want me to talk more about myself now?
No. You can circle back to that particular piece about the summer camp, because I want to get into some other things and kind of maybe end with the summer camp so people can understand what we're trying to do and the premise behind the creation of this student athlete summer camp.
Okay.
But before you go into that particular highlight we're going to talk about, can you talk about some of the highlights throughout the 2022-23 school year, 2022-23 school year when it comes to athletics?
Yeah, I would say a couple things stand out. We had 2 state champions. Athena Kusan won the Division III long jump title a couple weeks ago for Chicopee High. Maria Ferretti won the state Division III shot put title. Awesome, absolutely represent Chicopee High at a great level. The girls track team finished 4th in all of Division III in the state, and just a great, I would say, aura about that team, their coach, and the whole coaching staff there. They do a great job. We've had a lot of other success throughout the year as well. Girls basketball teams, Chicopee High finished in the Elite 8. Both football programs were very competitive. I think both basketball programs, or all 4 basketball programs, are growing after some very successful years. They've had to regroup a little bit, and I think that we're on the right track. I'm very impressed with our coaches, and very fortunate to have them working with us. I think facility-wise, we're looking at hopefully at some point in the near future to get our lights up on Chicopee High. So that turf field we will have hopefully by this fall.
It's a work in progress.
That is a work in progress, so we're honestly working that, and I know our Director of Maintenance is doing everything that he can to ensure that.
Thank you, Mr. Chaplain, and your staff, and you too, Mr. Sullivan, for the work you're doing with the athletics department to try to make sure we make the necessary upgrades to make our facilities top-tier facilities.
Right, and what happens with athletics is that for example, I have 2 assistants, Elizabeth Lindsay and Sandy Shagnon. We have tons of custodians. Jeremy Bissonette and Albert Bissonette are in charge of their respective schools. These guys work so hard to make sure that we have everything in place. Park and Rec does the same thing. Both of our schools' athletic programs require that we work with Park and Rec, and they help us out. They do a tremendous job. So there's a ton of things that are involved with athletics, and a lot of things that people don't see. So how often you and I meet to go over situations, right? Yes. And make sure that we're all doing what we're supposed to be doing, and representing all of our kids in the best way possible. So there's tons of work that goes into this. It's a labor of love for me, I've been involved in athletics all of my life, and I just want what's best for Chicopee Public Schools and our athletic programs.
And so we talk about the highlights things. Can you talk about some of the issues or concerns that you've had when it comes to athletics? One for me that I will bring up, and I think we've had numerous conversations about it, is the participation of the participation rate of student athletes. Can you compare it to pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, pre-remote learning, whatever you want to call it, to where we are currently now? And then also, what has aided you in this process when it comes to actually having to waiver and go down and get some middle school students to participate also too?
Yeah.
What do you think is the reason behind what we're talking about, the participation rates of athletics and seeing the numbers go down in both schools, particular sports, and then also the investment or the actual being creative and innovative by having co-ops so we can actually keep certain sports around?
Right. So I would say you and I remember well, spring 2020, the pandemic hits and all sports are shut down.
Correct.
So all spring sports were shut down and it was crickets everywhere and the world was kind of in a standstill. I would say you and I and Joyce worked extremely hard to get everything in place along, and with approval of the school committee and the mayor to make sure that we could start fall sports there on a limited basis and adhering to all the regulations. And that was pretty much all for the rest of 2020 and the rest of 2021. I think regarding athletics, girls' athletics across the state in all urban schools took a big hit. So what we found in the pandemic was that a lot of jobs suddenly opened. And who filled these jobs? In a lot of urban areas, a lot of girls filled those jobs. So they had an opportunity to make $15 to $20 an hour working jobs that normally were adults held. So that hurt our participation in the girls. I think somewhat also with the guys. I think we're slowly getting that back, but I would say it's tough competition if we want to promote boys and girls sports all the time, but if someone needs to work to help their family survive, then I understand that. But we also want to get these kids involved as much as possible. So we do that with sports right now. So we would say jump up to this year, 2022, 2023. For girls volleyball at Chicopee High, we had 3 teams. We had 66 girls trying out. Girls soccer, on the other hand, we only had a total of 24 girls, and we could not field a JV team. So it's not an easy answer to say why are these things happening, but I think it's also what I would say, and I don't want to get in too deep into this, but it's the professionalization of youth sports. When you find ourselves in communities like Chicopee, if we look at our high needs percentage, so high needs are students who are economically disadvantaged, English language learners, former English language learners, or special education. The state average is 56%. The Chicopee High average is 76%, meaning that a lot of those families are lower socioeconomic. Comp is right above the state average at around 60%. This is the reality that we're dealing with regarding that. Youth sports cost money. And if you have families who don't have that disposable income, then you're not going to get access. A lot of times, our student athletes don't have access to a sport until they come to high school. So that's specifically true for volleyball, for girls and boys lacrosse, and for a lot of other sports. That's the first time they're seeing something is in 9th grade. I think what we have to realize is if your son or daughter wants to play club soccer, that can cost anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000, and I'm not making that number up. And I think so. How do we work within that? One of the things that we're trying to do is with the camp is how do we address these things? The other way that we do it that you alluded to was through middle school waivers. So in certain sports, for example, this fall with girls soccer at Chicopee High, Well, we've asked for a middle school waiver for 7th and 8th graders for the JV level. That would be to get enough 7th and 8th graders so that we could have a JV program. That will be the same thing for boys and girls cross country at Chicopee High, boys soccer as well. And then for comp, we would have middle school waivers for 7th and 8th grade, varsity gymnastics, and then varsity boys and girls cross country. So that's what we're looking to do, to bring those kids up and give them a little bit of experience and hopefully a really positive experience. Most of the other fall sports, our numbers should be good. I expect a great turnout. Volleyball, again, for the girls is the fastest growing sport in the United States. So what I said before, 66 girls tried out last year. I think it was mid-50s for comp as well. So they want to play, they want to participate, and we love that. We love to have 3 teams for volleyball. That's outstanding.
So what about the co-op piece? What are we co-oping with for the upcoming school year?
So Chicopee High football, because of low numbers, they're going to co-op with the Pioneer Valley Chinese Immersion Charter School. We did it last year, but there wasn't any exchange of students, or not exchange, but we didn't get any students from Pioneer Valley. This year, we're hoping to get 4 to 6 to help boost our numbers for football. We will still have the same thing. So the gymnastics has always been a co-op as long as I've been here between comp and high. In the winter now, we would probably have 4 to 5 returning ice hockey players. We started a new co-op last year between Chicopee High and Chicopee Comp with only 4 to 5 returning. We've had to now reach out to South Hadley, Granby, and Pioneer Chinese Immersion School, and we have a successful co-op to keep our hockey program alive. So that'll be based out of Chicopee. We'll run everything out of Fitzpatrick Arena in Holyoke. We're really excited about that. Our coaching staff is really excited about that, and so are the other members of the co-op that we get to keep, because South Hadley's numbers were low, and if we don't work together, then there's not going to be a hockey program. So we're excited about that. Our coach and myself, we're working on the schedule for the winter right now.
Isn't wrestling the co-op too?
Wrestling is a co-op between Chicopee High and Chicopee Comp. We have great coaching staff there, Tiana Roy and Kenny Borden, and they do an outstanding job. We've had, under their leadership and previous coaches, state champions as well, a couple years back. So I think there's a good tradition there. We just have to keep on working. Wrestling is a hard sport. You have to keep on doing the best that we can. Our last co-op is between Chicopee High and Chicopee Comp is boys lacrosse. So, and again, we don't have a youth feeder system for boys lacrosse, so this is one of our challenges that we face.
So I guess the question is too, you just kind of led me to the next topic, is one of the things we talk about, it could be when a lot of jobs opening, and more so for females that went to the job, but a lot of males started working also too, that actually hindered or actually caused problems or issues for participation rates for student athletes. But also I think one of the underlying causes too is, do we have per se a feeder system for any of our sports programs in the city of Chicopee?
We do. Some are better than others. I don't feel it's my place to call out anyone.
I'm not trying to gauge, I'm not trying to get you to evaluate or judge. I just want to make sure that people understand that we have some semblance of a feeder system for some of the sports that we actually provide in the high schools, even though I know as we're going down the road, we will talk about the student athlete summer camp, which will kind of be like a feeder system, at least get kids acclimated and understanding and what we're looking for, and actually being able to participate in the high schools that they may be attending down the road. But I was, the feeder system for certain sports, and
it is a problem. Like, so if you look at most urban areas, and then compare them to suburban areas, right? The difference between, quite frankly, is 3rd and 4th, 5th graders are going to have early access in these other communities to sports. They're going to grow up with sports. Use lacrosse as an example, and in another community, they could have access to a lacrosse stick in their hands in 3rd or 4th grade. And we compare that with kids getting it in 9th grade here. So there's, anywhere from 5, I wouldn't say 5, but 2 to 6 years of experience within a sport that a lot of our kids don't have. So I think the importance of youth feeder systems can't be stressed enough. And I think overall, if we look at, and again, I'm not trying to get too deep, but if you look at physical literacy, right? 0 to 12 years old, what are we getting those kids to do to be able to, don't specialize in sports, go out and try to do as many different sports as possible? Then we have to look at, this is something I was going to bring up to you, but how do we do that as a school district? How do we give these kids in an elementary school, in the middle school, and that will feed to the high school, how do we give them access to all these different sports? How do we maybe enrich their experience more so that we can give?
I think we're already doing that with the summer student athlete camp for the kids that are participating, that they're already going to get a round robin of all the sports, probably except, hockey and some other ones that they will get access to understand and get an idea of what it's like to participate and what it's like to be on a high school campus and participate in those facilities. I think as a kid, I would have loved something like that.
Right.
Since we are speaking about that, and you already put the dates out there, July 5th through August 4th, a brochure has gone out about this student athlete summer camp, which will be housed at both Chicopee High School and Chicopee Comp. DuPont Middle School kids would be going to Chicopee High School. Bellamy kids would be going to Chicopee Comp High School.
Right.
So therefore, the kids are already be on there, and it'll be for those kids that already have signed up for it. We're still keeping registrations open, but one of the sticklers of it, and the reason we call it a student athlete is because you have to be a student first, athlete second, and you have to be a part of the morning section, which is academics, which I'll speak more about. But if you want to talk about the student athlete camp that you've been aching to put out there and promote, this is year 2, which I think is a very good thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to set the standard, in Chicopee public schools for summer camp programs. And then once that standard is set, as I would say what the Pittsburgh Steelers would say, the standard is the standard once we set that actual standard. So we're trying to get that off the ground. This is the second year. It's like we have more numbers than last year, but I'll let you talk more about it.
So I don't know when you and I first started talking about this, but say 4 years ago, you and I are working on this already. And this is the goal, understanding where our kids are coming from. How do we make sure that our schools are filled all the time with kids? How do we so this is kind of our dream coming to fruition, and we have a long way to go, but how do we keep young kids, show them this is going to be your high school at some point? How do we show these kids a goal, a vision of where they could be at some point? How do we take our student athletes, our juniors and seniors, employ them as coaches in camps and have them act as role models so that they have an opportunity to lead, right? Because it's really difficult to get actual opportunities for students to lead. So there we provide both ends of the spectrum. Young kids having a vision, having a goal, seeing great kids and coaches, and then young student athletes who have an opportunity to coach and to lead. So we're giving them practical experience. So the point with this is to give them academic enrichment. We know that students will regress during the summer, so it keeps them involved. The hope with this is that it's going to be academic enrichment. There's going to be experiential learning. We're going to involve the CTE teachers with what's going on. So kids will have practical hands-on experience. We're hoping to do field trips, hoping to go visit parks, go talk to, go to the mayor's office, go to the city council, go get these kids involved so they see what's going on, what I call citizenship. I know that's a word that you and I went back and forth with, but teach these students citizenship, what it's like to be in Chicopee, with the importance of voting. How do we take care of our parks? What's the role of our politicians? Because we want people to get involved. I think that's going to be a big part of it, I hope. And then in the athlete part, after lunch, would be exposing all of these student athletes to as many different sports as possible. One of the most important things is swimming, right? We want all of our kids to be able to swim because it's a lifelong skill. So that's really important for us. So I think I'm so excited. Each morning I get up and look at how many more registrations we have. So right now we're going to open it up until June 21st. After that, we have to shut it down for planning purposes. But we have a good number in each school right now, but we have plenty of room for more. So if people are interested, they can reach out to me, samackin@cpsge.org. Look on the district athletic website. There's a brochure in English and in Spanish. They can reach out to us and with any questions that they have.
And we will repost the actual brochure on our Facebook page and our social media pages so people can actually be up to date on it. But to circle back on the academic piece, yes, we're trying to do a lot of those things. It'll be some actual the learning in the classroom, so we'll be doing some things. But we have different sites. We have an elementary school program this summer as well that will be at our locations. It'll be at Belcher Elementary School. It'll be at Strawberry Elementary School and Stefanik Elementary School. And as I said before, our middle school program, which is the one we're focusing on for the summer camp, is rising 6th graders through 9th graders at DuPont, which DuPont will be housed at Chicopee High School, and Bellamy will be housed at Chicopee Comprehensive High School. We also have our credit recovery programs that will be both at Chicopee High and at Chicopee Comp and at Chicopee Academy. And we also have our ESY extended school year program too for a lot of, so we have a lot of things that are going on this summer when it comes for kids to get an opportunity to participate and do some things. And as Mr. Mackin alluded to, we have some experiential learning, will be some hands-on learning. We will have some CTE components, JROTC. We also will be working with Chicopee Fresh, and we actually have kids who will be working in the garden and learning how to, to establish good eating habits and how to grow things. So we have a lot of things we have planned this summer. It's still in its infancy stages. This is the second year we're doing this, so it's a work in progress, but I think it's a very valuable camp and help kids to understand the value of first being a student first and an athlete second. So there probably will be some conversations, some mentoring going on, talking about a variety of things for students from younger student athletes and also from the coaches. So I mean, if you're interested, as Mr. Mackin gave you his email address, but we'll make sure we put the brochure back onto our social media pages, and the actual closing date now is June 21st, which is the day before the last day of school on June 22nd. So please take an opportunity to read the brochure, look at it. If you have any questions, feel free to email Mr. Mackin about the actual summer camp piece of it. If you have any questions about the academic piece of it, you can email Mr. Ed Stanton, who's the summer school director for that particular piece. So if you can highlight a program for me, can you highlight the Unified Sports Program?
Yeah.
And what it is, tell people what it is, and
I'm really proud of what we've done. So that's been a priority for us when I got here 6 years ago, to get unified programs off the ground. So basically, Unified Sports is students with intellectual disabilities working with students without intellectual disabilities. We have athletes and partners. Our goal with each team is to have close to a 50-50 split as much as possible. We've been very fortunate. We have Mark Hammond helped us start our first, he's our comp SRO, he helped us start our first unified basketball program. We had a co-op when we first started 5 years ago. And now that's blossomed into comp unified basketball team, Chicopee High unified basketball team, comp unified track, Chicopee High unified track. This past year, or actually for 5 years now, we've held the unified basketball jamboree at Chicopee Comp with 8 to 10 schools each year. It really is a great show. This past year we held the Unified Sports Western Mass, or the Western Sectional, there for Unified Track. So it's important for me. I'm on the Massachusetts Unified State Advisory Board for Unified Sports, and I feel like it's the truest essence of sport. That if you're feeling a little down, go there and watch these kids work together. And it's one of the best experiences you'll ever have. And it brings you back to the truest essence of sport, is getting everyone to cooperate, have fun, play together. And like basketball, it doesn't matter who scores. And everybody cheers for everyone. And it's really a great atmosphere. We're very fortunate to have, the past couple of years, Erica Carlson at Chicopee High and Brittany North at Chicopee Comp to help me run our programs. Karen Riley has stepped up big time. Melissa McDonald has stepped up big time. We've had tons of people who done a great job for all of our partners and our athletes. And I couldn't be more excited about it.
So, and you're talking about bringing people together. So, you and I, maybe a month ago, we attended a training called Addressing Hate in School Sports, which is probably one of the best trainings I think I've attended in a long time, because it was more than what the topic talked about. But the reason I bring it up is, one, because of the training, we can briefly talk about that, and two, the fact I think two of the most opportunities to bring people together, regardless of their differences, whether those differences are physical, whether those differences are mental, whether it's racial, ethnicity, or religious, or whatever it may be. The two things I think that bring the most camaraderie or the most collegiality are coming together to me are athletics and the military. Those are the things I think, for me, that I think those differences go out the door because you become a team, you become a single unit working for a common goal and a common purpose. I think of that as too as education. We all, as people in education, from your teachers to paras to food service workers to custodians to school nurses to SROs to administration to central office, we're all working towards the common goal to make sure that we create conditions, spaces, opportunities, and experiences for all students to learn, to grow, and to thrive. I think that is the purpose behind it. We're trying to make sure that all students, whatever that success looks like, that's what we're trying to do. So we're, as a team too, or as Team Chicopee, as our motto was for this year, we are actually stronger together. But just to highlight that particular piece, because I think athletics is a huge thing in that piece of teaching kids how to work together, how to work for a common goal and purpose, right, which is a form of education for them to do that. But I stressed that, but I also want to talk about that particular training we had at UMass, which was a 2-day training on a Friday and Saturday, and it was right, so good that most people, you would think on a Saturday, would blow it off, but it was a full house on that Saturday also too.
Right, and I think that what's really important, we understand that these are things that go on across the United States, and we think, and we realize now it goes on in Massachusetts. I think there were over 50 hate incidents in sport the past couple of years. It's 50 too many. So I think in our discussions between you and me, you've raised my awareness. I've been involved in athletics all my life. I didn't really see the importance of understanding that in all of my life that we've worked as a team. I don't look at skin color. I don't look at, but I also see through that training and in talks to you, with you, is to see that I have to see that. I have to see the skin color. I have to be aware of that around us. And so all of that training that I went to, that you and I went to, I did it also an additional training, where right now I'm developing curriculum. We're going to, starting in August, my goal is to have a leadership, right now what I'm calling a Chicopee Leadership Council, which would be for all of our fall sports to have all the leaders or captains from each team. We're looking to meet 5 to 7 times throughout the fall to discuss leadership, servant leadership, to understand diversity, to understand problem situations that will arise, how to become a better leader. We're going to talk about growth mindset. We're going to discuss the difference between authority and leadership, because there's a huge difference between that. So my goal there is to work hand in hand with our leadership, with our kids, to understand that sports is on the front page. It's the most visible aspect of our district many times, and in most districts. So we want to prepare those kids as much as we can. So that training that I learned there is going to go right into what our kids are going to go through. And so I'm hoping to lead that, again, 5 to 7 times throughout the fall. What's interesting then is, for the winter and for the spring, any students who are, again, leaders, the goal is for them to help me run that course, run that curriculum with them. So before you leave, I was going to ask for a little bit of money to help me with this leadership program, but we can do that off camera, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of late for that particular one, but one of the things I am hoping about this curriculum or about this piece is one of the things about that training at UMass, which is really, it was located at UMass, but Northeastern University is one of the ones that put it into play. What I thoroughly enjoyed and what actually made me happy about it is we had conversations with superintendents, principals, vice principals, athletic directors, all in the same room. It was a safe space where people, there was a, I'm sounding like Planet Fitness, it was a judgment-free zone. Right. People could be themselves, but you got to learn a lot of things there about each other. But these are the same conversations that I was seeing when we had a training that people of color have in the barbershop or have in the homes, have at nighttime, have at family events but to have a mixed group of people that have these conversations from different positions within the district, to me, I think is a starting point where there were tough conversations, there were tough things there, but people felt comfortable enough to express themselves and feel like they were educating themselves, and they asked some questions because they did not know. And I think those are the type of things we need to carry on into the district with the adults, because I think it's we need to start with even the coaches. The coaches need to understand it. I think it's something we can carry over to the teachers into the classroom, because it's hard to unpack or separate yourself from, I'm going into the classroom, I'm going to coach, but I'm putting my personal beliefs to the side. No, that stuff walks into the classroom with you, regardless of how hard you try not to. So I think understanding or asking them questions is not a problem. I think people want to and invite those tough conversations. Some people feel uncomfortable having those, but I think that's something that we need to, that to me was the springboard to keep doing it, and we can grow with it and bring it somewhere. And I'm hoping to not develop, but even be able to host some of those things, and maybe in a different location or whatever, to bring it out to Western Mass, because I want to continue those type of conversations, because I think it's a necessary and needed conversation that people are willing to have. They just have to feel like, create the space they feel safe or they feel comfortable to have those conversations. And I think that's something that can build up on, because I think it educates people. I think it makes people feel like, oh, I didn't know that. And I think people are scared to even ask the question, should I be saying that? Should I be calling that? Because one of the examples I'll give is I grew up, anything below the Mason-Dixon line is south. I grew up in West Virginia. So one of the things, and
I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Okay, so, all right, close enough. And I'm just saying that one of the ladies there that was presented was a woman of color also too. Right. And the person asked the question, I don't know whether it's black or African American, to when you're having a conversation with a person, and I said, well, black is fine with me, but she said that she wanted African American because her father was from Ghana. Right. So therefore, I get it. There's differences in this, because no group of people is monochromatic, or we're all individuals even within a race or ethnicity from that perspective. So that was a learning point for a lot of different people. And then a lot of the incidents you talk about, a lot of people weren't even aware. It's too many incidents. 50 is too many to be happening and transpiring in this day and age. So we need to make sure that we can educate our individual adults first, because the adults model the behavior that's before kids, that goes from school committee, city council, all the way down to the people in the district. They're modeling because kids are watching from that perspective. Chicopee's on the cutting edge of trying to tackle this, because we work with an organization called DEEP. It's called Disruptive Equity Education Project. We have rolled that out to principals, then it will come down to teachers and so forth. We will probably roll it out to other administrators. But my main thing with you is, I know that you have this student leadership you're trying to do with kids, but don't forget your coaches, because your coaches are the ones that model the behavior for the student athlete. So I would say keep that in mind also too.
Yeah, so I just met with one of our, a really good coach today, and I said, going forward, our coaching meetings will be PD sessions. And so we'll be given different scenarios like we were at UMass. So here is a scenario, racial incident happens, how do we respond? And then we'll have that discussion, and then the usual meeting that we go on, which we tons of information, I'll do that separately with coaches there, but we're gonna turn those coach meetings into PD sessions.
And I would think it would be prudent to, when you have those scenarios or have that PD, it would be prudent to invite the high school principals into those meetings, because they're a big piece of what's going to transpire in those type of scenarios.
They're always welcome, and then what we have had in the past are our academic liaisons. So David Lemke is our athletic liaison at Chicopee High, and Jeff Bouye at Comp. So they've always been involved there, and they will continue to do so.
And one of the things is I'm telling you now that what I started this piece is your trainers got trained and stopped the bleed.
Right.
This past earlier this spring, along with the school nurses, were retrained too. We're looking to train everybody in the district, from teachers to paras, to food cafeteria workers, to to bus drivers, to crossing guards, to administrators, to everybody we want to train. And one of the things that your trainers have been trained, make sure that your coaches are trained.
Right.
That's a big thing where a lot of accidents or injuries happen is on the sporting events field. Along with, I think this is going to be huge for the CTE department, because a lot of accidents or things do happen.
Right.
Because we're talking about tourniquets and you're talking about putting pressure. This is a life-saving technique that can be for anybody. You can use with your own kids or whatever it may be. But we're also going to add those tourniquets to all the go bags also too.
Okay.
So that's something I'm looking to move forward. I think that's another thing, another tool in the tool belt for your coaches and for staff in the district too.
I talked to Joyce O'Neill before this podcast also, so she made me aware of that.
Okay.
So we look forward to that.
So Mr. Mackin, so circle back and kind of put a bow on this. Is there anything else you want to say about the athletic department, or some of the things that you have on the horizon you're looking to do for Chicopee Public Schools athletics, or anything you want to say?
I'm just, overall, I'm a pretty positive person. And I think the future is bright. I think that we have a lot of great things with your help and guidance and leadership that we're getting the camp off the ground. We have so much support for all of our athletic programs. Now we need to get our kids out there, start to understand what's holding them back from more participation, give them leadership opportunities, which we're hoping to do. And then finally, I want to say that, and I've said this to you before, but I've learned a lot from you, and I'm sorry that you're leaving, but I know that you have great things in front of you. And I look forward to seeing your success and staying in touch.
I appreciate that. You're putting that out there for public consumption, but it's already out there, though.
It's already out there.
Yes, I appreciate that. So, with that being said, I appreciate working with you, Mr. Mackin, and thank you. I've learned a lot
Yes,
too
sir.
from yourself in a different perspective, and I look forward to see how the athletic program continues to grow, and the concerns and issues that you're working on, to see that those get resolved and see what new things come out. And I think the training in the fall will be something great. I just think we need to expand it to adults also too.
Yep.
But I do appreciate all the things that you're doing for our students and their families when it comes to athletics, but also making sure that you, make them aware and show them the importance of education is an important tool also too.
Right.
So I do appreciate that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is How We Chicopee. Thank you for tuning in.